Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going over the Firebird dev server. Going to be going over pretty much all the vehicles that they've added as well as a few little changes. So our first vehicle, the T77E1, is located after the M16 MG/MC. It's got 650 cals on a chaffy hull. Pretty nice addition, not amazing, but at 3.7 it is going to fit nicely into that lineup. We then also have the Skink. This has already been added to the British tech tree. It is coming after the M19 and the M42. Both these vehicles are trash, so it does give a little bit of a boost. I will say though that the Skink's 20mm guns are a little bit anemic. They don't really have the best, as my dog shakes his collar, they don't really have the best muzzle velocity, which means it's certainly not a world win, let's put it that way. This thing isn't going to be shooting down planes from 2.5 clicks away. Moving on, we have the B17G60VE. This is not a new plane, but it does get two new things. Now, the keen-eyed among you may have spotted these large, suspiciously testicle-looking bombs. These are the 4,000-pound AN M56 4000. Now, these will destroy any vehicle within a radius of 54 meters, which is absolutely insane. So you could take this out in ground realistic and absolutely flatten some of the more urban and rural maps. You probably are going to get shot down before you actually manage to drop the bombs though, especially with all of the German CAS flying about at the minute. It's one of the things that people think American CAS is OP, but have you played the German CAS? We then come on to the F117 Nighthawk, a rather strange plane both in real life and in game. It's basically an F-18, well, not Super Hornet, F-18 Hornet underneath. Kind of like one of those guys that buy a really shitty car, but then they put an expensive body kit on it and pretend it's amazing. Yeah, that's kind of what the F-17 is. So it's coming in the tech tree in rank 6, basically here. Now it is 8.7, and that is because this plane is pretty much garbage in terms of kinematic performance. It's very slow. It's actually subsonic. It's very hard to fly. As you can see, it's not really got a lifting body. It's basically designed to fly straight into a radar field and basically not really too much else. In terms of weapons, we do have quite a lot to choose from, at least in terms of air to ground. We don't have any sort of cannon or any sort of air to air weaponry. So you can take laser guarded or JDAM, you can take laser guarded or GPS guarded bombs. So the GBU 31 2,000 pounders. You can also take the GBU 10s if I can find them. These things are absolute monsters as well. Basically the same 2,000 pound bombs, just laser guarded or GPS guarded, sorry. Can also take conventional dumb bombs. I don't really see why you'd do that though, but can if you really want to for some reason. Overall, it's 8.7. It's 10.0 in ground realistic though, which I think is very harsh. This thing should go down to 9.3 in ground realistic. Cope and Steve, I don't care. You'll notice that all of the stealth planes in real life are always colored black. So the B1B Lancer, kind of a stealth bomber. Not particularly though. B2 Spirit is colored black. F-35 is kind of black. F-22 Raptor is kind of black. That's because these planes fly usually at night when they are being super stealthy. So when you spawn into a battle in one of these in the daytime, it's just going to be another black dot on the screen of a enemy SPAA or radar gun spag. So it's not really going to give you that much stealth. It's going to make it harder for you to get locked up, but most SPAAs around this battle rating are radio command, guidance, line of sight, so it's not really going to matter that much in my opinion. We then move on to the F-15 Eagle. Now this is coming after the F-111F, so it is going to be quite a grind if you don't have this plane unlocked. As you can see, I've been quite busy getting the American unlocked. Anyway, the F-15 Eagle, it is the, well, the F-15, yeah, F-15, what am I saying? The F-15E is the two-seat tandem cockpit version of the Eagle. It basically has to use the conformal fuel tanks in order to carry more bombs. So instead of having hard points just on the wings and the outer wings and the belly lines, sorry, it also has them on the conformal fuel tanks. Now you can take a wide range of varieties. You can take laser guided bombs, you can take GPS guided bombs, you can even take the GBU 39Bs. Now in real life these are basically designed to piss off S400, S300 PM U2 batteries. You basically drop all 20 of these at once. The enemy detects them on the radar. They're only small. They're only low yield bomb loads, but it forces an enemy anti-aircraft battery to fire missiles at them to stop them blowing up the battery. All that battery has to take down its radars, take down its tells, and basically relocate. So it basically forces the enemy to either drain all their missiles or basically shut down the site and move to a different location, which of course allows a friendly strike package to go in and do some damage. These are being like boasted as one of the key new additions for the F-15 Eagle, but in ground realistic these things are pretty much useless unless you're just going to saturate the enemy spawn and hope you get lucky, but pretty much useless for any serious air-to-ground connoisseur. You still do have the good old AGM-62s though, very very good weapons. Get the AGM-62Ds, AGM-65D sorry. So basically this is just going to bring the F-15E up to par with something like the F-16C in terms of its CAS performance. I believe this also does get a little bit better power to weight or thrust to weight ratio, which should allow it to get a bit higher and a little bit faster. This is going to be handy if you're launching any air-to-air missiles. You still do get the AMRAAM Alphas. Unfortunately, we do not get any of the Cs or the Ds yet. A little bit too advanced. But anyway, nice little addition to the American tech tree. Finally, the A7E. This isn't new, but it is getting a kind of buff. You can actually carry more bombs now if you really want to. That's my phone going off, sorry. Don't really know why you do this, because you can still just carry the 6 2,000 pounders and absolutely tear shit up in ground realistic. That all being said, lads, let's move on to the Germans and see what they get. So we're here with the Germans. This is obviously not a new plane, but all of the Ju-87s are getting new cockpits. I can't really be able to show you that, so go and look at it in your own time. We then also get the Lux A2. This is coming in at battle rating 7.3 in the 5th rank of the German tech tree. This is coming, if I can find it, after the Weasel 1A4 and before the Gepard, funnily enough. Don't really know why it's in like the kind of, I guess it kind of, I don't really care where it comes. Anyway, it does get the DM63 APDS round with 66mm of penetration, as well as a thermal imager. So as you can see here in the test drive, we do get first generation thermal imagers. We don't get any sort of track IR, as you'd imagine. This is like a 60s vehicle. It is quite large, I will say, so it's not exactly going to be subtle going around the battlefield. It's also not the best at handling. It's quite sluggish. Feels quite heavy to maneuver. Not really what you want for a light tank. You're not really going to be able to dip in and out of cover quickly. You can't really pop out, take a shot, and then reverse quickly. You can see just how much weight is in the vehicle. It's kind of reluctant to stop and accelerate. But overall, a nice addition to the German tech tree. It's giving it a little bit of mobility. That's what the Germans always need. You can just see here how slow it is to accelerate. It's going to really nuke its ability to actually get out of harm's way if you get surprised by an enemy. The cannon, not really the best for going through the thick Soviet side armor, to say the least. And then finally, we get the OSA, the SA-8, I believe, if I'm getting that right. Not too sure. Hopefully it is. Anyway, so the OSA is coming at just before the Flak Rad, as well, the Flak Panzer, sorry, and after the Ocelot and the Gepard. Now, one of my esteemed Discord members, who is an expert on Soviet SAMs, as I like to believe, has informed me that this missile is incorrect. As you can see, it has a speed of 580 meters per second, but I believe this missile in real life can travel at 1,000 meters per second. And it should have a maximum range of about 15 rather than 10. That being said, in game though, you will notice that the OSA is unable to shoot at close range targets because the missile basically lofts up quite high. So if we shoot at the KPZ-70 over there, not like you'd ever really do this in a battle, but you can see it cannot physically lower itself down quick enough to actually shoot. So we find this approaching plane. You can see that we basically... So this missile is radio command guidance, kind of the same as the Tunguska and quite a few other of the early Soviet SAMs. So it is using a radar to track the vehicle, but in terms of actually guiding the missile to target, it is radio command line of sight, I believe. It should also have an optical IR guidance system like pretty much all of the earlier Soviet SAMs until you get to the S300. Now, I will say that the camera angle here is a little bit in the way, to say the least. So hopefully Gaijin pulls the camera back a little bit, but you can just do this. It kind of breaks the immersion a little bit, especially when you're like that and you can't really see a thing. But apart from being limited, he's got like a minimum range of like 2 kilometers. But the positive is that it's got a very good range of like 10 kilometers or something like that. 10.3 kilometers. Might even go up in battle rating at some point because you can just nuke people out of the sky. But again, can't even lock this guy. Oh my god, I can't see. Oh, I think that'll be too close. Yeah, so you've got like a minimum engagement of like 2 kilometers, maybe 1.5 kilometers. That is the German tech tree, lads. We'll move on to our next nation. And coming in for the Russian tech tree, we have the Su-34. This is coming after the SG-24M and sits at battle rating 13.3 for air realistic and 12.7 for ground realistic. In many ways, in many ways, this is kind of the Russian copy of the It's the Russian copy of the F-15E. It's basically a dedicated air-to-ground variant of the Su-27 flankers, or Su-30, Su-33, whatever the hell they're on now. I don't really care. Anyway, it's kind of a failure. It's a lot heavier, not really got the thrust away. It doesn't. The Russians basically don't have the technology to create a actual targeting pod. Instead, you can't really see it. You can see here, there's basically like a forward-looking camera. It basically allows you to look from like there to there. So it's not like with the American T-pod where you can drop a bomb and then basically fly basically perpendicular to the actual target and still laze them. Can't really do that with the Su-34. What you can do though is carry an ungodly amount of air-to-ground weapons. So you still get the S-13-0, the liquid-fueled rockets. You get the S-25Ms. You get all the good stuff. You get the Cab 500s. You even get the Grom 16 things. Don't really know the difference between them. I think they are quite modern though. You get the massive bombs. You get Cab 1500s. You also get all the air-to-ground munitions, but more importantly for us today, you get the KH-38MT. These are very similar to the KH-38Ls that we got on the Su-25 a couple of updates ago. They're very, very powerful rockets. If I can find them here. So they have 84 kilos of TNT. Very, very strong if they actually hit an enemy tank. So this one is basically laser guided, the ML, the laser, and the MT is infrared. So it's basically like the AGM-65 Mavericks. You can basically fire these at a hot vehicle, so a tank or anything moving, and they are very, very strong in game. So I basically just carry these into a battle. I have this loadout here. I don't really see the point of taking these Grom things. Everyone was kind of ranting and raving about them, saying they're overpowered. Don't really understand why, because they are just glide bombs. Anyway, I'm not really too sure. So in my opinion, these things are going to be absolute beasts. I'll hopefully jump to some footage now and show you what they can do. So the Su-34 is absolutely massive as well. It actually has the bicycle landing gears. Kind of weird looking. But yeah, this plane is basically notorious. I'm pretty sure the Russians were using it to bomb Kharkov every night for like a good few months. So if we select our KH-38MTs, also the handling of this is quite wacky. They've made it like super agile for some reason. So you just pull insane amounts of AOA for no reason and just completely tank your speed. But we're going to lock these naughty BTRs if we can get the nose on target. So as you can see, in terms of the actual field of view of the gun camera, you can basically get like 60 degrees off the nose either side. Same in the actual this thing. You actually get a thermal imager. Oh, we do. That's kind of cool. So if we lock our target with the KH-30s, might be better in this camera actually, so you can see that it is thermal. You can see we are actually getting a thermal lock. It isn't inertial, or it isn't GPS, sorry. It's actually locking onto the heat signature of enemy vehicles. This means you will be able to fire and forget them on moving targets. A big advantage compared to like the GVU 38 and 31 on the American vehicles, where they are only suitable against stationary vehicles. Unfortunately, there are no moving targets on this map for some reason. We can do that. We can also do that. We can find these other naughty SPAs. Why is the gun camera so low, Sergeant? Sergeant York, about to be Sergeant Dead. But yeah, very, very powerful in an air-to-ground loadout. The gun camera does go either way, but how's that happening? So as far as I know, that camera should only face forwards. As you can see, it has no ability to swivel. So I think that is a glitch there, Guardian. I think you've messed up. Unless there's a camera at the back. Is there a camera at the back? Have I got my stats wrong? There might actually be a camera at the back as well. Oh, that's weird. Maybe there is, I don't know. Maybe you could have to fly directly over the target. Oh well. Anyway, you still do get the R-73 infrared missiles, as well as the R-77 Archer, I believe it's called, the NATO designation. The R-77 isn't really the best though. It's nowhere near as good as the AIM-120, at least from what I can tell in-game. So overall, a good air-to-ground multi-role bomber, I guess. Fighter bomber, probably the better term. More bomber than fighter though. So nice addition to the Russian tech tree. Not sure it's going to be doing that much for revolutionizing the realistic scene though. Funnily enough, the Russians are also getting a new helicopter. This is the Mi-8 AMT-SH/VN. Don't know what that means, and I can't be bothered to look at it. But it is coming in the 7th rank, so putting it equal with the Mi-28 and the K-52s, at least in Gaijin's eyes. So what do we get for this upgrade? Well, from my knowledge, as I click the wrong button, we can carry the attacker missiles now, as well as the Iglas at the same time. So you can carry 8 attacker and 8 Igla air-to-air missiles. Not really too sure why you'd want to take this. It is a very large helicopter. Again, it's the same battle rating as the actual Mi-28 now, which I believe also carries attackers. Carries 16 attackers actually, which, yeah, not really too sure why they add in this. Kind of blows my mind, really. Well, not blows my mind, but I don't really understand it. Anyway, the Object 140, this is a new pack premium that they're adding to the game. Don't really know why, to be honest with you, because 8.3 now is pretty much dead as a battle rating. Because they changed all of the premium vehicles to 10.7, at least in the NATO tech trees. All of the 8.3 vehicles now just get dragged up to 9.3. So you've got like the BMD, the Object 279, Object 775, T64A, T72A, all of these vehicles are absolutely chads now. These things absolutely kicking ass. So there's not really any reason to play 8.3. You may as well just get or put a talisman on any of these 9.3 vehicles. But the Object 140, kind of like a T55 with a better gun, at least from what I can tell. So you do get a stock APDS round with 380mm of penetration. More importantly, that muzzle velocity of 1,535 meters per second. Very, very nice. You also get a APC-BC round with, again, 1,000 meters per second muzzle velocity with 290mm of penetration and 100 grams of TNT filler. You can get very nice for clapping cheeks of enemy vehicles. Unfortunately, 8.3, the APDS is probably going to be a better bet. It doesn't really have the best angle penetration. It is one of the, well, it's classed in-game as like an early APDS where it's made of a brittle material, making it very strong against flat armor, but against angled armor, not really that great. So this vehicle has an ace reload of 8.5 seconds, which isn't too bad. It's not the fastest at the battle rating, but it's more than good enough to get the job done. Should you pre-order this? I'd say no, mainly because of the battle rating of 8.3. It's kind of a dead battle rating anyway. May as well just put a little bit more money and get the UD, the Terms, 2S38. All these vehicles are superior. even the T-80 UE-1. I don't really see a point in getting a rank 6 premium for the Soviets. They've got such a caked and stacked lineup here. There's not really any point. We also get the OSA for the Soviets. This is exactly the same as the one we saw in the German tech tree, so there's not really any point to look at it. It's got the exact same missile. It's got the exact same radar and everything like that. I think is it Landro radar, if I remember? I can't remember. Anyway, let's move on to the Britbongs, my home country. So first up for the British, we have HMS Repulse. Now you will notice in the stat card it says 1941. You may be asking why wasn't this ship modernized, and that's because it was actually sank by the Japanese in a little spicy torpedo bomber attack. Kind of funny, the British didn't have any tracers for the anti-aircraft guns, so the Japanese pilots just kind of flew straight at them. It's one of the reasons. It's one of the main things they learned from World War II is that tracer belts. Even if you don't hit the enemy aircraft, it basically makes the enemy pilots shit themselves and pull off. And yeah, Britain lost 2 ships. The Prince of Wales, was it, that was sank, as well as HMS Repulse. One of the worst British losses in World War II. A lot of people drowned. And then the Chinese came last year and salvaged all the steel, which is desecrating a war grave. But that being said, for the Blue Water tech tree, it's coming before the HMS Hood. This thing is going to be trash. It's basically it's not got enough. It's a battle cruiser. It's not really got enough armor to go up against capital ship grade guns. It's not as good as Renown, which is a battle rating, which is a rank lower. Sorry, you can probably get this pretty cheap on the Gaijin marketplace, and this has a lot better anti-aircraft and just better in general, to be honest. Moving on, we have the Tornado GR4. This is coming, if I can find it, after the Tornado GR1, so it's not coming after the F3 Interceptor. Pretty fair thing here. It is coming in at battle rating 12.3 for ground and realistic. This thing again is absolutely stacked. If we take a look at the countermeasures, we can carry 1,256 large caliber countermeasures. I'm not sure if this is a glitch or a typo from Gaijin. I don't really know how you can fit 600 countermeasures into these things. Now that is me speculating, I have no idea. But yeah, I have no clue how they get over 1,200 countermeasures. But you may notice these things here, the Brimstone missiles. It's a very big controversy in the British procurement system, because these things basically, I think they made the American equivalent look like dog shit, but then America didn't accept them or something. I think the tracking system on these is exceptional, but they never were really adopted by anyone else. Anyway, I'm not really too sure about that. But as you can see, we can take out the PGM-2000s, which you can already carry on the old Tornado. And you can take 12 Brimstones in addition to that as well. You also get the AIM-9Ms for personal protection, I guess. I think you also get a helmet-mounted display allowing you to shoot off bore sight as well, which is very nice. You can also carry more of the paveways. I believe before you could only carry 3 of them, or 4. I think you can only carry 4 before. You can also take along the PGM 500s, which are a bit smaller, but I do believe they are rocket boosted. You can, as I said, the Brimstone, these are laser guided basically, but they're very, very fast. It's 450 meters per second in combination with the speed that you have when you release them. So I believe that this is going to be very, very good, as well as in combination with that Lightning 2 pod. The chaff and flares here, I don't really know the difference between them. One of them says it has 600 per wing, the other one says 480 per wing. Not really sure the difference or whether that is correct or not. But as you can see from this loadout, absolutely beast of a plane coming for Britain in the next update. Next thing is the Harrier GR3. This is a very, very small change. Basically, the 500-pound bombs have been replaced with the British or the Fleet Air Arm 540-pound bombs. Not really worth mentioning really, but I just thought I'd include it just for the sake of completion. Now we also get the Super Hind. This is a squadron helicopter coming to Britain at battle rating 10.3. If you already have the G-Links or the actual links, there's not really any point playing this. The The British ground lineup is now solid 10.7. You have the Vickers, the Challenger DS, the other two Challengers at 10.7 and 10.3. There's not really much point playing 10.3 once you get the 10.7 vehicles. Another reason not to play this vehicle is the very mediocre firepower, in my opinion. So you can only carry a total of 8 air-to-ground missiles, and these are the Ingwe, the ZT-3A2. These are actually found in the British tech tree located on the also named ZT-3A2, this thing. And they're not particularly amazing on this vehicle, so I doubt they're particularly good in the helicopter either. Apart from that though, you can't actually carry any of the air-to-ground missiles on the inner pylons, so you can either fill it with the S-24s, which you get on basically the early Hinds. You can carry some bombs as well. I'd just go for the missiles, the rockets though, the S-8KOs. It's a nice addition, cool to see it. It is like the Super Hind, I believe it's called. Well, yeah, it's called that in game actually. Not really too sure why they added it. I certainly won't be grinding it immediately. You get a nice chin-mounted gun as well. 20mm, not really the highest caliber. I don't know if you get very good air-to-ground either. You get a HVAC belt with 57mm of penetration. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't really rush to get this vehicle. We then have the Ram 2. This has been in the American tech tree for a very long time as a premium, and it's now coming as a premium to the British tech tree down here in rank 2 at 3.7. So it will actually go very well with the Sherman 2 as well as the Achilles, the Cromwell 2, the RP3, the Cromwell 1. So it is going to be a nice little grinder if you don't have high tier Britain unlocked. It is a good grinder to get to start your grind. We then have the Scimitar or Scimitar. I believe it is Scimitar though. This is located at the same battle rating as the Fox for some strange reason. This thing could easily go down to like 6.3, 6.7. It's nowhere near as fast as this Fox is, and the reason the Fox has got such a high battle rating is purely because it is a rat tank. It's very small, it's very fast, it can get in places that enemies don't really think to look. Whereas the Scimitar, while it is famous for being quite small and having a low ground pressure, it's nowhere near as fast over hard terrain as the Fox. But I think it is quite harsh given it the battle rating of 7.7. Something it doesn't have compared to the Fox though is a thermal imager. It does also get the 30mm AP DS belt with a 110mm gun, and it is of course using that Raden L21A1. Not the best gun in terms of rate of fire, but yeah, it gets the job done. I think the battle rating of 7.7 is incredibly harsh. But yeah, so we're going to move on now to the Chinese tech tree. You may be thinking, why not Japan? But Japan doesn't get anything this update, so sucks to be Japanese, I guess. The Chinese also aren't really getting anything this update really, but they are getting slightly more than the Japanese. To start, we can also carry more bombs now. These are the 250 kilo bombs. You can carry 2 here instead of, well, before you couldn't carry this many basically. Kind of a shitty little update why you'd be using 250 kilo bombs on a top tier jet fighter. I don't really know, but I included it again for the sake of completionism. The real chad though of this update for me, like one of the best vehicles coming to ground, is the PLZ-05. To start, this thing has a maximum, well, it has a reload speed, auto reloader of 7.5 seconds. As you can see, it is quite a big vehicle. It's kind of leaning backwards, it's that heavy. So this has an auto loader which reloads every 7.5 seconds. And what are we firing? Well, we have the double D, I like double Ds, B03155. You can see there the muzzle velocity of 933 meters per second. This is going to be very spicy indeed. It has a TNT filler equivalent of 8.4 kilos of TNT, giving it 60 millimeters of explosive penetration. We can also take the BEA-1-155, which is a semi-armor piercing, or SAPCBC, which is usually only found on naval vehicles. But again, it travels at 933 meters per second. Only contains 5.1 kilos of TNT, but more importantly, it has 166 millimeters of flat penetration. So you are going to be able to just use this to bully people. We also get a laser rangefinder, which is going to make it even easier to aim. Not that you really needed it because of this very high muzzle velocity. So a laser rangefinder, a reload speed of 7.5 seconds, a seemingly very good semi-armor piercing round. And for those who are interested, it is coming here just before the M113A1 tow. So you're going to have to grind the PLZ 83, or I'm going to have to grind it to play it. So it's quite a low vehicle. If you've not started grinding the Chinese tech tree, it's probably one of those vehicles that makes the grind worth it, to be honest. But yeah, that's all China's getting. A very good SPAA and a mediocre upgrade for the J10A. Just like the Germans and the Soviets, the Italians are also getting the OSA AKM. This is the Romanian version. It is coming after the Mistral sedan and before the Automatic. It's quite a nice addition, actually. I do quite like this. Italy was lacking a 10.7, 10.3 anti-aircraft vehicle, so the OSA is a really good fit here. I'm going to have to grind out the sedan though. I never really grinded it because it was really shit, but now at least I have a reason to do so. The next addition is the next update is the Freccia or Freccia. This thing has had an increase of its spike, so it now has 10 spike missiles. Pretty insane, to be honest. And it has now also been given a 3rd gen thermal imager. I don't know why I don't have this unlocked. I do play this quite a lot. So it's now got a 3rd gen thermal imager for the gunner sight, but it doesn't get it for the commander. So hopefully we load in good order. So we do have a very high resolution thermal now. As you can see, the spikes are probably not going to do any damage. Oh, we actually got a kill. That's surprising. But it's going to make it a little bit easier now to actually do some damage. It's going to be a lot better for spotting. Allows you to acquire targets faster in most game modes. You're going to get the T90? Nope, because spikes are shit. So, for 10.7, this is an exceptional vehicle. It is one of the unsung heroes of War Thunder, really. 10.7 for most nations now is the sweet spot, along with 9.3. So you have the 9.3 GigaChad lineup for the Italians, which is a Leopard 1A5, the OF40 if you have it, Centauro 105. Great lineup. Then you have the 10.7, which is like the premium 2A, not the premium 2A4, the 2A4, the Freccia. So this thing, the KF41, this thing is just dog shit, but it's a higher battery rating than the Freccia for some reason. This thing should be 10.7 as well as the Freccia. God forbid they put this thing up to 11.0 because that would absolutely kill it. But that is everything for the Italian tech tree. Let's move on to the Frenchies, who are actually eating very well this update. So up first for the French, we have the Dunkirk. This was a battle cruiser type thing made in response, I believe, to the Deutschland class, which is the Graf-Spee. Now, I think that is why these were built. I could be wrong though. I think there was another type of ship like this called the Strasbourg, which was a same kind of design concept, but a later ship. I could be misremembering that though. Anyway, this vessel has all of its firepower mounted forwards, which basically allows it to pursue an enemy without having to turn to expose the bulk of its firepower. Was this successful in real life? Not really. Basically, well, the French Navy didn't really do anything in World War II. But anyway, the guns are pretty decent. You don't get a armor-piercing round, surprisingly, which is... hopefully that's just because they've not added it to the game yet, and I would have thought the French did have armor-piercing shells for the battle cruisers. Maybe the fact it was designed to take out the Graf-Spee meant they didn't need an armor-piercing round, but that would be very, very surprising. It is coming at the end of the French territory after the Lorraine, however you pronounce it in French. Well, the main stars of this update for the French is going to be the Leopard 2s. I bet the French players are so salty that the best vehicles in the French territory are now going to be German. I'm sure that is stinging the old national pride a little bit. But these are the Dutch or the Netherlands. You don't really say the Netherlands, it's the Dutch Leopard 2A4, 2A5 and 2A6s. As far as I can tell, these are just complete copy and pastes of the the vehicles in the German tech tree. So these are not like the leopards from the Swedish tech tree, where they have a little bit of a domestic modification, which makes them a little bit better. So the Leopard 2A4 NL gets the DM23, and both the 2A5 and the 2A6 get DM53, giving it fantastic penetration, as you'd imagine from the good old Leopards. That is it for the French tech tree. We don't get any new planes, at least as far as I can tell. I don't see any of them not being spaded. Just not bothered to go and grind that out. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for the French. They are eating very well though. These new Leopards are going to give a new lease of life to the French tech tree. It's coming after the AMX-40, which is a vehicle that I didn't bother unlocking because it just went straight for the Leclercs. But now I have a reason to play the French again. Yippee. So for the Swedish, we have 3 not new planes, but we do have 3 new additions. So the Gripen A, the AJ37 and the AJS37 now all have the ability to carry the AGM-65G, I believe. It is the semi-armor piercing high explosive version. The RB75T, I believe it is I think it definitely is. So the Gripen A can carry 4 of them, the AJS can carry 4 of them, but the AJ37 can only carry 2 on the centerline pylons. It's kind of trash, this thing. The AJS and the JAS39 are good though. So obviously they aren't new, but there's a nice new addition. Gonna improve their capability in air-to-ground battles. The new addition though for the Swedish is going to be the BMP-2 MD. So we don't have any missile on this vehicle. The only difference that I can tell compared to the other BMP is the addition of a thermal imager for the gunner. You also get the APD SPAL, which you find on the regular BMP in the Soviet tech tree. It does say it is modernized, but I'm not really sure why they modernized it without giving it a missile. But it does get a thermal imager for the gunner, commander, and the driver. Again, not really too sure why this is being added, to be honest. But it is battle rating 8.7, which... Does it have a lineup? I guess if you really want to take it with the STRV 104, you could. But again, like I just mentioned in the Italians, the battle rating now is 9.3 and 10.7. So the 8.3 to 8.7 vehicles are kind of just getting shat on at the minute. But again, it's a nice new addition for the Swedish. It gives them a little bit more mobility. I don't really think they needed it because they've got the CV90s here, 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 here. So it's cool to have. I do like the BMP2s, but is it going to be worth GEing this? Probably not. Cool new vehicle though. Not really that amazing, but a nice new addition. Gives the Swedish something to talk about at least. And finally, we have the Israelis. So first up, we have the Sabra Mark 1. This is coming after the Galbatrash and the Magak 7C. It sits at battle rating 9.3. So as I just said with the BMP-2 MD, the battle rating of 9.7 is just going to get up to 10.7 all the time, which is the main advantage of the 9.3 lineup. You don't see the premium lineups anymore. The Sabra, it does get the M322 round, which is a very high penetration round, 589mm of penetration. So in terms of the firepower, you're not really going to be... There's not really any downsides to it. You can see there that we have an ace reload of 6 seconds as well. But just look at it. It's an M60 hull fighting at 9.7. It's not really going to have any sort of armor. All of these modernizations of the M60 were basically for fighting off people with RPGs, and basically it's not made for fighting other enemy tanks, let's put it that way. It's made for like infantry support. So it's another vehicle for the Israelis, but just like pretty much every single tank in this side of the tech tree, it's just shit. There's no reason to play it once you unlock it. It's just you have to unlock them to get down the tech tree. Even the Makaras aren't really worth it. I don't even know why I grinded this. It took me ages and I hated every single game playing it. That being said though, the Israelis do get the F-15E as well. I believe it's just the F-15E. It says the F-15I RAM. I guess they could have made a little bit of a modification to it. Give it the old Israeli spice. I'm not really aware of the Israeli F-15 modifications though, so I have no idea. As far as I can tell, this is just an Israeli F-15E. You have the exact same modification cards, the exact same air-to-ground weapons. You get the same GBU-39s, just as useless in the Israeli territory as they are in the American one. Same bombs, same everything, same air-to-ground loadout. I don't know if you can take the Derby missiles on this. Not that you would want to, because they're not as good as the AIM-120s. Can this take? Yeah, it can take AIM-120s. So yeah, it's just an Israeli F-15 Eagle. It's coming after the F-16D Barak rather than after the Baz Meshul, whatever. That sounds like an Indian name to me. So it's coming in this tech tree rather than that one. I already have the F-16. So yeah, it's going to be a vehicle that I can unlock eventually. Again, same positives as the American one. It's a little bit more powerful. You can get a little bit faster and launch those missiles, giving them a better range. And it's going to have a little bit more weapon variety compared to the regular F-15. It's going to put it on par with the F-16C in terms of its air-to-ground performance. So yeah, nice change to the Israeli tech tree. Didn't really need it, but again, nice to have in-game. So anyway, lads, we have a very limited time on this earth, so I thank you very much for spending however long this video is here with me tonight. I'm personally looking forward to the Tornado GR4 as well as the Chinese PLZ-05 the most. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments what vehicles you are looking forward to. This update seemingly is pretty nice. The graphics look good, the vehicles look good. So yeah, let me know down below what vehicles you guys would like to see in game, what you're excited for in the next patch, and what vehicles you would see me want to review. As always, lads, thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.